It might seem like the most difficult thing in the world today to believe that video game movies once sucked balls. Sure, there were some campy titles that you might have fond memories of because you laughed a few times, like Street Fighter, or maybe because you cried at how terrible they were, like Double Dragon.
Billy the Medallion!
I'll admit that even I was a huge fan of Mortal Kombat when it came out in theaters.
Pathetic fools, I've come for your souls.
I don't think so.
But it's a different world today because we've got video game adaptations like Fallout and The Last of Us Season 1, not Season 2. Don't get me started on Season 2. That really make it appear that you can adapt video game stories into not only entertaining, but avant-garde art.
I'd offer you one of these cherry tomatoes, but you got a hole in your neck.
Now, this has a lot to do with the fact that the technology behind video games has also progressed to the point where a lot of video games themselves started feeling like movies, so we're really in an Ouroboros of absolutely fantastic entertainment. Back in the day, when there was just a surplus of absolutely god-awful video game movies, in large part due to the work of Uwe Boll, who was trying to get as many tax credits as he could from the German government.
It looks like nobody gives a shit about Rampage 3, so maybe I shouldn't do it then. I have enough money to play golf till I'm dead.
Well, there was only one title that a lot of people would use as the shining example of how video game movies can actually be half decent, and that was Christoph Gans' Silent Hill. Now, if you don't know why so many fans like myself have an absolute love boner for Silent Hill the series, it's because of a lot of reasons. Two of the biggest third-party video game companies back in the day happened to be Capcom and Konami, and they were constantly competing with one another, oftentimes having dueling franchises. So after Capcom comes out with the Resident Evil series, which in large part is inspired by George Romero's zombie movies, Konami also wanted to make a lot of money in the survival horror genre and ended up releasing the game Silent Hill. Unlike Resident Evil that was inspired by zombie movies, Silent Hill was inspired by titles like Jacob's Ladder and Twin Peaks. It wasn't only going to go for shock and jump scares, they also wanted to use something that is rarely seen in a lot of horror films, which is psychological horror. When the game came out, it was unlike anything that had been seen before it, dealing with adult themes like cults, and eventually Silent Hill 2 dealing with suicide, depression, and things that you normally wouldn't see or experience in a video game narrative. The first 4 Silent Hill games are considered amongst the most cherished survival horror games of all time. So naturally, when a movie was going to come out, fans were understandably scared, and not in the way you might think. While many different directors were trying to get the rights to Silent Hill, including Sam Raimi, which, I mean, that absolutely sucks. Imagine how good that movie could have been.
You're mine!
You black-hearted whore!
Apparently, Christoph Gans was given the rights to Silent Hill after speaking to the overlords over at Konami and actually expressing that he knew a lot about the games. All that being said, Christoph Gans is not necessarily a terrible director. He had previously directed a film called Le Pacte des Loups, or otherwise known in America as The Brotherhood of the Wolf, which was pretty goddamn badass. Not to mention, the project was going to be written by Roger Avary. Roger Avary is a writer from Canada who actually co-created Pulp Fiction alongside Quentin Tarantino. He also made one of the most interesting college films ever called The Rules of Attraction, which honestly is one of those strange movies that you should really watch just because it's unlike any other college film I've ever seen. And they both seem like they really cared about Silent Hill, so obviously it's going to make a really good film. If you were grading it on a bell curve, yes, of course, Silent Hill becomes the top of the class just because of how terrible all video game movies were up to that point. But I think a lot of people remember the film more fondly than you should.
Danger. If you really cared about that little girl, you wouldn't have sped off.
Listen to me. She's ill. She's sleepwalked.
Just calm right down. I'm gonna find the little girl.
So first off, what did they get right? Well, the atmosphere for sure. This looks and feels like Silent Hill, and a lot of the characters look like they were pulled directly from the video game. The music is sensational, in large part due to the fact that they actually took the original soundtrack of the game by Akira Yamaoka and just put it right in there. And yeah, it turns out that it works both for the video game and for the movie pretty damn well. The acting is pretty decent, in large part due to a good cast, and I mean, at the end of the day, who doesn't love Sean Bean?
Okay, Where's the turnoff?
But you might be asking yourself why the majority of the entire cast is women, and not that that's a bad thing. In fact, it's pretty refreshing. The only problem is that Christoph Gans was not doing this for feminist reasons. He originally thought the protagonist of the first Silent Hill game, Harry Mason, was a little too feminine for his liking, and thought that it should be portrayed by a woman instead.
No? Why? Is there something down there?
You don't know? Don't you work here?
We're under strict orders never to enter the basement storeroom. So I really don't know. What did you say was down there?
Well, it's... Damn! My head.
Which is a weird thing when you think about it, because Harry Mason was a refreshing protagonist in a video game simply because he was an everyman. He wasn't a trained soldier, he wasn't an ex-cop, he was just a regular guy who didn't really know how to use weapons well and was caught inside of a horrible nightmare, and so that's part of the charm of playing as him as a character. But apparently that's too feminine to be portrayed in a film, so instead we get Radha Mitchell playing the primary character in the movie. And beat for beat, the storyline does follow the first game decently, although some elements are changed when it comes to do with the cult, and it actually turns out to be a bunch of coal miners who had died horrifically in a tragedy. I won't get too deep into the detail or lore of Silent Hill. There's many other videos you could watch on the subject, but I think the most important thing that people should know about the series is that in the game Silent Hill, the biggest monster, the most horrifying reality, the scariest thing about any single Silent Hill game is the town of Silent Hill. The monsters that you encounter in Silent Hill are unique to each person who visits the town. For example, if you were abusive to kids or you were bad to children, then you might be haunted in Silent Hill by a bunch of really creepy little tiny kid-looking creatures.
Did you see those monsters? Have you ever seen such aberrations? Ever even heard of such things?
If you had made a terrible mistake in your past, or you had been abusive to your wife, or perhaps were dealing with a dying and sick wife and were not treating her well, then maybe you'll be tormented by a psychosexual creature known iconically as Pyramid Head. When you're making a movie based on a video game, you gotta do a little thing called fan service, which unfortunately does ruin a lot of these titles. The fan service in Silent Hill comes down to the fact that it features a lot of the creatures, both from Silent Hill 1 and Silent Hill 2, even though they're completely different stories featuring different characters. Featuring a character like Pyramid Head in a storyline that has nothing to do with the reason why Pyramid Head even exists in the game at all is just downright disgraceful. It's also a movie that if you watch it a couple times in the modern day, you might start to like it less and less.
Forgive me. We've lived too long as scavengers. I believe this is yours.
Witch!
It features a lot more jump scares than it does psychological horror, and all of the amazing atmosphere and special effects that are done to really recreate the world of Silent Hill start to kind of crumble and fall apart as if you're entering the other world, simply because they just don't make a lot of sense in the context of the film. Not to mention it does this really weird thing near the end where if you hadn't understood the plot up to that point, well, maybe you need a complete storyline recap, and they actually do that. They go through the trouble. It's kind of like a cutscene where you just have to kind of pause and be like, all right, so here's everything that you learned, and here's everything that's going on, and if you didn't understand everything, now you do, so there's no way that you'll walk out of the theater and be remotely confused. And then, of course, there's this.
Oh no! Give me the strength to save you!
And then there's Sean Bean. What exactly is Sean Bean doing in the film, you might be asking to yourselves? Well, that's because the studio actually approached the director and said, by the way, this movie doesn't have, according to your script, a single man in it. And yeah, that's a big no-no. We need to have a man in this story. How are we supposed to ground a horror film if there's not a single person to have a logical, sensible idea? He's kind of in half of it, but he's only in one kind of separate reality, so he never really gets to encounter a lot of the things that are taking place. But I mean, you know, even 0.5 Sean Bean is better than no Sean Bean. I mean, all in, this would probably be at best, I'd say a 6 out of 10. The movie's not terrible, it could be much worse. They have some iconic shots from the games that are recreated to perfection. They have some great costume design, some incredible music is matched with incredible pacing, great atmosphere, and all that really works to make it feel a little bit like Silent Hill. But it's so weird to say this, but it's a Silent Hill movie that's not actually about Silent Silent Hill, because a core component of the game was taking a town that's going to haunt you with manifestations of the worst things that you had done in your life and turn them into real-world monsters that you have to combat as you deal with the nightmare of your own design. Something truly psychologically terrifying and one of the most iconic points of what makes the games so memorable. Is it better than most video game movies that came out in the era? Yes. And does it hold up today? Yeah, I mean, that's up for you to decide. But you know what? In comparison to the next Silent Hill movie, my god, is it ever a masterpiece.
They say you are a demon.
They are right.
You created this nightmare.
Everyone has a different nightmare in Silent Hill. I am there.
I have to save my father.
He's not my father.
So Silent Hill Revelation, the sequel to Silent Hill, was originally supposed to be directed by Christoph Gans and Roger Avery was going to write once again, but unfortunately Roger Avery was arrested for vehicle manslaughter, and it wasn't long until Christoph dropped out to be replaced by MJ Bassett, which you might know from nothing, honestly. If I was to list you some of the movies you might know, Solomon Kane? Do you remember Solomon Kane? Have you even heard of Solomon Kane?
If I kill you, I am bound for hell. It is a price I shall gladly pay.
And instead of Silent Hill 2, we get Silent Hill Revelations 3D. This was back when every single movie thought they could make a lot more money simply by saying the movie was in 3D. So put on your plastic glasses, get a headache, and suddenly you're watching a half-decent, terrible film that's actually in the third dimension. Luckily, we don't do that anymore. Silent Hill Revelation 3D comes out in 2012, and it's an abomination of the highest order.
A way to destroy a lesser. And you.
Where is my father?
There is nothing you can do to save him without damning yourself.
I don't care. Just tell me what you know.
It's a horrifying reality that we have to live in a world where another Silent Hill film exists that actually has an incredible cast that is as bad as this movie is. It features Adeline Clemens, it features Carrie-Anne Moss, it features Kit Harington at Game of Thrones. My god. I don't even want to summarize it. I'm just gonna say, it's unwatchable. It basically tries to take some of the storyline of Silent Hill 3, blend it with some of the storyline of Silent Hill 2, smash in maybe a little couple clues from Silent Hill 4, and then shake the whole thing up and shit all over it.
You didn't call them.
I did.
Then why are they here? What's going on, Heather?
I have to go. If they catch me, I'll never find my dad.
Catch you? Why would they catch you? What have you done?
Nothing. I haven't done anything, I swear. Help me.
What do you want me to do?
The whole thing is just garbage. It's not scary, it's filled with jump scares, it's got terrible effects. So much of the special effects are now destroyed by the reality that they wanted to make them really pop in 3D, and goddamn do they look terrible today. It's not scary unless you find being bored terrifying, in which case this may be the scariest movie you'll ever see in your life. There's no point in even trying to summarize the plot, because what the hell was it? I watched it once in theaters and then I watched it again to be able to talk about it now, and I still can't tell you, because my brain shut off for a solid 2 hours. Okay, fine, 95 minutes. It felt like 9 hours, alright? That was my revelation. I think even if you're a hardcore Silent Hill fan like myself, there's no point in watching this movie outside of just knowing that it exists. It's kind of like playing one of the worst video games in the series, just to be able to be like, well, I did play that weird Game Boy title that was kind of just more like a, I don't know, spoken word book, but at the end of the day, I'm a collectionist. I have to play every single title that ever happened. It's depressing, it's sad, it's unbelievably boring. Honestly, this one at best, 2 out of 10.
I am looking for my father.
Is he lost?
He's in Silent Hill.
Whoa, there are many Silent Hills. Are you sure it's this one?
And that brings us to the future, aka now, aka the present, when there is a new Silent Hill film coming out, and you'll never believe this. It's being directed by Christoph Gans.
Something's happened here. Something really, really bad.
Hold the darkness, you can't keep it away.
Please don't go any further. You don't know what kind of hell you have to face.
And I don't know if I can be excited for this one. Don't get me wrong, it's neat that Christoph Gans is returning to filmmaking after 11 years. The last one was Beauty and the Beast. The terrible, oh my god. You know what? It's not as if filmmakers suddenly lose skill at their craft as they get much older or take a long time off of doing things. I mean, if anything, he was only honing and refining his skills. This one is based exclusively on Silent Hill 2.
I am here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Alright, so here's the good news. We were all wrong about the blooper remix of Silent Hill 2. I was kind of astonished. They not only updated the graphics incredibly, which, I mean, I don't really care about, the original Silent Hill 2 is still totally playable, but they actually captured the spirit and the feelings and the emotions of Silent Hill 2, which are some of the most important and difficult things to do. An entirely new cast with entirely new voice actors. They were able to take this game, this iconic game, this game that meant so much to so many people, including myself, and actually give us the feels again. Silent Hill 2 is a really special game, and you might hear a lot of people talk about it all the time as if it's one of the greatest video games of all time, and in many ways I think it is. It's a really hard thing to explain start to finish, but back when it was released in 2001, this game featured topics and themes that I'd not seen explored in any other medium in the same way. Much like Silent Hill 1, it deals with a town that haunts its main protagonist, James Sunderland, as he wanders through it looking for his dead wife. Or perhaps so he thinks, because maybe his wife is alive. She sent him a note that says that she's actually waiting for him in Silent Hill, so he's exploring this horrifying and haunting town with a nihilistic tone in which he doesn't care if he lives or dies, he's simply trying to see his dead wife one last time. So I'm gonna have to do a little spoiler warning here because there's no way to talk about Silent Hill 2 without actually revealing what the storyline was. Skip right to this part in the video if you don't want any of that spoiled for you. As James is wandering through the town, you realize that a lot of the things that are haunting him, pursuing him, and chasing him are actually manifestations of the very torture that he himself was going through as his wife was dying from cancer. You see creatures that look like living tumors trying to attack him, human beings that are having their bodies pulled apart before them, and of course, there's Pyramid Head. Now, Pyramid Head has become the most iconic villain in the entire Silent Hill franchise, and most people can recognize him simply by looking at him because it's just a very unusual looking creature. A very masculine, strong looking man in the middle, holding a giant sword that has no business being able to be carried by anything, beast or otherwise. And then there's of course this very, very industrial, metallic, horrifying looking Pyramid Head on the top of his dome. The villain that is terrorizing you the entire game and chasing you and haunting you is actually you. This version that was tortured by the existence of having a dying wife and all the things that a man might be going through during that period. Having sexual frustration, for example, having loneliness, having the inability to know what to do next, the terrifying fear and paralysis of all that. And that's not to say that James is good. In fact, it turns out at the end, the twist of the game is that he was the villain all along. You were playing as the biggest monster featured in Silent Hill 2, and that is jaw-dropping. To realize that, I almost had to drop the controller on the ground, and I was just a teenager at the time, but when you realize that James is responsible for killing his wife, you really start to put the pieces, the clues together. You realize he did it out of his own selfishness as well. I've been playing as a monster this whole time? I am the monster? That's wild. That's something that you can't really experience in a lot of other mediums, which is what makes Silent Hill 2 such a special game. I didn't even mention the other characters and the amount of things that they go through, and the exploration of themes that even as a teenager, I don't think I was fully equipped to try and deal with. Themes of depression, themes of suicide, themes of suicidal ideation, themes of sexual abuse, abuse by one's father, incest, abuse by one's own family. All of this kind of stuff is explored in a way in which you have to actually piece clues together to get the full story before you realize why characters are doing and saying the kind of things that they're doing. And it's haunting. It's a game that to this day still resonates with me and still can make me feel very, very profoundly sad, but also accepting of certain parts of reality, that there are human beings that are complex and evil, and not everyone is a hero, both in a video game or in the real world. So is all that gonna be done well in the film? I don't know what to tell you here. It's kind of really worrisome that Christoph Gans is returning to filmmaking after so long, considering that, again, taking 11 years off from making your last movie to making one of the most iconic franchises of all time is gonna be a difficult one. You know what? I'm going to reserve my hope. I'm going to be hopeful for a game that is infinitely so depressing, because why not? It could be good, we'll see. It might be alright. Wouldn't have to do much in order to be better than the second one. If you want to beat Silent Hill Revelations 3D, all you have to do is really film anything for 95 minutes and you've made a better movie. I could film my dog. Here's Chico. No, I'm doing it. I'm filming my dog. Here's me filming my dog Chico. I could film my dog Chico for 95 minutes. I could do that, and this is a better film than Silent Hill Revelations 3D. It is. It might not make as much money, but you can agree with me right now. From a pure aesthetic and artistic viewpoint, This is a better movie. The truth is, for there to be a truly amazing and iconic Silent Hill film, they have to actually get to the root of what makes the Silent Hill video games so special. The first 4 Silent Hill games especially are considered amongst the greatest survival horror titles of all time, and there's a reason for that. It's a really neat concept to have this town that actually haunts you with manifestations of the horrifying things that you did in the real world and suddenly brings them to life before your eyes so that you have to explore the deepest and darkest recesses of your soul. You just gotta focus less on jump scares, less on crowd pleasing, and focus at the root of what makes psychological horror such an interesting genre. So there could be a good Silent Hill film. I just don't really know if this is going to be it.
So much to our patrons for making this show possible. We could not fund it without you, and if you want to join, please check out patreon.com/theserfs to unlock bonus episodes, uncensored content, and all the good stuff. Thanks to Anna Loves Riley, Addercap, Bobby Lasers, Cheryl Alvarez, Comrade Junkie, Doug Caddy, Everything Important, Hegbard Salim, Multimondi, Omni, Political Papi, Preston Kroll, Quiet One 85, Riley and Anna, Roller Dragon, Cernicus, Stellar Gwyn, Sebastian Demmel, Tigwick, and Words Greenwood.